Hello friends, welcome to Pathshala. In this video, we will discuss the topic Judicial Review. Before that, please do subscribe. Moving on to the topic, in this video, we will discuss what is Judicial Review, background of the concept, categories of Judicial Review, some previous examples, Judicial Review and the Constitution, extent of Judicial Review, difference between due process of law and procedure established by law, ninth schedule and the Judicial Review, and related terms. What is judicial review? There are three arms of the government. They are legislature, executive and judiciary. Though each arm has its own powers, the judiciary has a power over the legislature and executive, and that power is called judicial review. We all know that our constitution is the supreme law in our country, and it is the responsibility of the Supreme Court to safeguard this law. Judicial review is the power of the judiciary to understand and protect the constitution and to declare any law or order made by the legislature or executive as invalid if the judiciary finds those laws as going against the constitutional values. Here the judiciary includes Supreme Court and High Courts. Though High Courts can exercise the power of judicial review, the Supreme Court has the ultimate authority to override the decisions made by the High Courts. Background: the concept of judicial review originated and developed in the United States of America. It was put forward for the first time in the case of Marbury vs. Madison in 1803 by John Marshall, who was the Chief Justice of the American Supreme Court at that time. In India, the Constitution itself gave the power of judicial review to the judiciary, and the Supreme Court declared that the power of judicial review is the basic feature of the Constitution. It was done so in the Indira Gandhi vs. Raj Narain case. With this, it became that the power of judicial review cannot be cut down even with a constitutional amendment. Judicial review is also called the interpretational and observer role of the Indian judiciary. Moving on to the categories of judicial review, the judicial review has been classified into three categories by Justice Syed Shah Mohammad Quadri. They include judicial review of constitutional amendments, judicial review of legislation of the parliament and state legislatures and subordinate legislations, judicial review of administrative action of union and state authorities under the state. Some of the previous examples where Supreme Court used the power of judicial review include Golaknath case 1967, Bank Nationalization case 1970, the Privy Purses Abolition case 1971, the Keshavananda Bharati case 1973, the Minerva Mills case 1980. In 2015, the Supreme Court declared that the 99th Constitutional Amendment 2014 and the National Judicial Appointments Commission 2014 as unconstitutional and are further invalid. Judicial Review and the Constitution. Actually, the phrase judicial review is not mentioned anywhere in the Constitution. Still, several articles in the Constitution clearly grants the power of judicial review on the Supreme Court and the High Courts. Let's see those articles and their provisions. We are not going into the details, but we are just going through the article and what it deals with. Here is the list of articles. Article 13 explains that all laws that are not compatible and those that disrespects the fundamental rights shall be invalid. Article 32 gives the right to move the Supreme Court for the implementation of the fundamental rights, and it also gives power to the Supreme Court to issue orders or writs for that purpose. Article 131 provides that the Supreme Court shall have original jurisdiction in matters of center, state or interstate disputes. Article 132 of the Constitution provides appellate jurisdiction of the Supreme Court in appeals from High Courts in certain cases. Article 133 provides for the appellate jurisdiction of the Supreme Court in appeals from the High Court in regard to civil matters. Article 134 provides for the appellate jurisdiction of the Supreme Court in criminal cases. Article 134A deals with the certificate for appeal to the Supreme Court from the High Courts. Article 135 gives power to the Supreme Court to exercise the jurisdiction and powers of the Federal Court under any pre-constitution law. Article 136 gives powers to the Supreme Court to grant special leave to appeal from any court or tribunal except military tribunal. Article 143 of the Constitution authorizes the President to seek the opinion of the Supreme Court on any question of law. Article 226 gives powers to the High Courts to issue any order for the implementation of the fundamental rights. Article 227 gives the superintendent power to the High Courts over all other courts and tribunals that comes under their jurisdiction. It excludes military courts. Article 245 deals with the laws to which territorial extent can be implemented. Article 246 deals with the subject matters of the laws in the Union List, State List and the Concurrent List. Article 251 and 254 makes the central laws valid over the state laws when there is a conflict in regard to the subjects in the Union and the State List. Article 372 deals with the continuance in force of the pre-constitutional laws. Moving on to the importance of the judicial review. Judicial review is important for three reasons. They include to protect the principle of supremacy of the Constitution, to maintain the balance between the center and the states. This is otherwise called maintaining the federal equilibrium. And the third one is to protect the fundamental rights of the citizens. In India, the Constitution is the supreme law, and for a law to be valid, it must be in compliance with the Constitution. And for that law to be enacted, it is the decision of the judiciary to declare it constitutional or otherwise. To decide if the legislation is in compliance with the Constitution, our Constitution contains express provisions for judicial review. This can be seen in the case of fundamental rights, to which the court has been given the role of sentinel on the qui-vive. When we say it in other words, it is nothing but the fundamental rights are given the role of bodyguard who is always alert protecting us. For a question like how long can the power of judicial review be exercised, it can be said that as long as the fundamental rights are associated with the Constitution, the judicial review is to be exercised to check that the provisions of the fundamental rights are not violated and broken. It is the duty of the judges to give a judgment upon the validity of the laws. If the courts don't have this power, then the fundamental rights which are conferred on the people will become just a decoration without any specific use. Rights without remedies are as writ in water, which means when there are rights but they don't give any safety or compensation on violation, then what is the use of having those rights? With this, a controlled constitution will become uncontrolled. The judges of the Supreme Court are given the task of protecting the Constitution. They are also given the power to interpret the Constitution, which means to explain the real meaning of the provisions of the Constitution. It is the judges who have to make sure that the balance of power pictured by the Constitution is maintained and that the legislation and the executive do not go beyond the constitutional limits while discharging their duties. The provisions of the judicial review are wisely incorporated in the Constitution itself to maintain the balance of federalism, to protect fundamental rights and fundamental freedom given to the citizens. It acts as a weapon to enjoy equality, liberty and fundamental freedom, and it helps to create a healthy nationalism. Judicial review adjusts the Constitution to cope up with the new changes and needs. Extent of the judicial review. The constitutional validity of a law or an order can be challenged in the Supreme Court or in the High Court based on three grounds. They include: the first one is if the law violates or breaks the fundamental rights mentioned in Part 3 of the Constitution. The second one is if the law is outside the jurisdiction of the authority which framed it. And the third one is if the law is extremely unacceptable to the provisions of the Constitution. The above mention tells us that the extent of judicial review in India is narrow when compared to that of the United States of America. This is because the American Constitution follows due process of law, but we Indians follow the procedure established by law. What is the difference between due process of law and procedure established by law? Due process of law gives wide extent to the Supreme Court in protecting the rights of the citizens. It can declare a law as invalid when it violates the rights based on not only the substantive cases where the law is unlawful, but also based on the procedural cases where the law is also unreasonable. When talking about the Indian Constitution, which follows procedure established by law, reviews the laws and declares a law as invalid when it violates the rights, only taking into consideration the substantive reasons and not the procedural reasons. In our country, the judicial review only questions if the law is within the powers of the certain authority, but it does not question if the law is reasonable or suitable. Some critics say different things regarding the American Constitution following the due process of law in judicial review, which gives a large power. Some call it the third chamber of the legislature, others describe it as super legislature, arbiter of social policy. We follow this American system of judicial review to a certain extent, but not completely. We also follow part of British system. India follows a mixture of principles of both American Constitution where judiciary is supreme, British Constitution where parliament is supreme. Moving on to the ninth schedule and judicial review. Article 31B protects the acts and regulations included in the ninth schedule from being challenged and made invalid based on the reason that they are violating the fundamental rights, which also means that the laws in this schedule are shielded from judicial review. It consists of a list of central and state laws that cannot be challenged in courts. Article 31B and the ninth schedule were added to the Constitution through the First Amendment in 1951. It was done to protect laws related to agrarian reforms, which means the reforms in the agricultural sector, and to abolish the Jamindari system. Originally, when the ninth schedule was added to the Constitution for the first time, it contained 13 acts and regulations, but now the number has been increased to 284. Though the laws in the ninth schedule cannot be challenged in the courts, the Supreme Court gave a significant judgment in I.R. Coelho case in 2007 that judicial review is the basic feature of the Constitution and no law can escape from judicial review by simply placing the law under the ninth schedule. In that case, the court also said that if any law is included in the ninth schedule after April 24, 1973, then that law can be challenged in the courts and can be made invalid if it violates the basic structure of the Constitution or fundamental rights under Article 14, 15, 19 and 21. Why April 24, 1973? It was on that date the Supreme Court first introduced the doctrine of basic structure of the Constitution in the Kesavan and Bharati case. What are the constitutional amendments that are included in the ninth schedule before April 24, 1973? They are First Amendment 1951, Fourth Amendment 1955, Seventh Amendment 1964, 29th Amendment 1972. Related terminology. There are two more terms that are similar to judicial review. They include judicial activism and judicial overreach. Judicial activism means the active role of the judiciary in defending the rights of the citizens and protecting the constitutional and the legal system of the country. Judicial activism is different from judicial overreach by a narrow line. If we have to quote it in a simple language, we can say it as when judicial activism crosses its limits, it becomes judicial overreach. When the judiciary abuses its power of judicial review, the balance of functioning of the legislature and the executive will be broken and can lead to the failure of the system. We will go deep into these topics in the future. This is in brief about the judicial review. If you feel good, like it and share it. Also post your opinions, suggestions and questions in the comments. Also, if you want to add any points to the topics, please mention in the comments. Thank you. Have a great time.